Hello my dear students, this is a continuation video of the poem The Rime of the Ancient Mariner written by Coleridge. We have already read till 7th stanza in the previous video. Today we are going to recite and know the explanation of the next stanzas. So let's get started. First of all, I will recite the poem and then explanation will be done. Day after day, we stuck not breath nor motion, as idle as a painted ship upon a painted ocean. This stanza explains the ship remained stuck at one place day after day. It did not move because there was neither wind nor tide. It looked just like the picture of a ship on the sea. The ancient mariner and his fellow sailors were stuck in the middle of the silent sea, and they were brought into this condition because the mariners had drifted into the silent sea where there was neither wind nor tide. Hence, they were stranded there. There is a use of simile in the last two lines of this stanza. It graphically describes the pictures of a becalmed ship on a silent and still ocean. Hence, it is very apt, and the repetition conveys the sheer length of the time the sailor's ship was stuck up in the middle of the ocean. Stanza 9. Water, water everywhere, and all the boats did shrink. Water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. Mariner says that though the ship was surrounded by water all sides, yet the very border of the ship began to crack and shrink because of the excessive heat. They were in the midst of so much water, but there wasn't even a drop they could drink. These lines have the repetition of W sound, while the repetition of the line water, water everywhere signifies the peculiar fate the sailors had to face. Although they were surrounded by immeasurable amount of sea water, they had not a drop of water to wet their parched mouths. The repetition gauges the extent of their misery, and the sailors have not a drop to drink because their supply of fresh water was exhausted and they simply could not drink the salty sea water. Stanza 10. The very deep did wrought, O Christ, that ever this should be, yea, slimy things did crawl with legs upon the slimy sea. Here, the meaning of deep means sea. Slimy means covered with a slippery jelly-like coating. The sea itself began to rot due to no movement in the wind or the water. Very repulsive sea creatures could be seen crawling with their ugly legs on the sticky and slimy, glue-like water of the sea. It was a horrible sight to see. They remarked that Lord Christ should save everyone from such a frightening situation. The very deep here refers to the sea which was stagnant. In these lines, the ancient mariner invokes Christ because the invocation conveys the ancient mariner's deep sense of agony and repentance at having killed the albatross. Now, only Christ can save his rotting and sinful soul. There is an element of irony in this invocation. While the ancient mariner seeks Christ's help to save his soul after committing the sin of killing a Christian soul, that is, a pure soul, the soul of the albatross. Stanza 10. About in rail and rout, the death fires danced at night. The water like a witch's oil, burnt green and blue and white. Here, the meaning of reel and rout means a violent whirling motion. Death fires shone and hovered all about them at night. Their luminous lights appeared to be dancing and whirling around the ship. The seawater burnt like the oils burnt by the witches, emitting multicolored lights. This stanza has simile in the last two lines. The reference here is to the three witches in Shakespeare's play Macbeth. The water seems to be burning with crackling sparkles of many colors. The elements of supernaturalism here prepares us for what is to follow. The reel and rout, though actually is a type of dance movements, here they describe the movements of the death fires as they fly, while the death fires represents evil forces or death. Stanza 12. And some in dreams assured were of the spirit that plagued us so. 9 fathom deep he had followed us from the land of mist and snow. Here the meaning of plagued means annoyed or caused trouble. It means some of the sailors had a dream that a spirit was avenging the death of the albatross and had been following their ship from the land of mist and snow. It had been moving all the while 9 fathom deep in the water. It is to be noted that some has been used for the fellow sailors of the ancient mariner in the very first line of this stanza, while 9 fathom deep means a fathom that is measured of depth equal to 6 meters. Thus, the polar spirit was following the sailors 54 meters underwater. Please note that Coleridge's obsession with the number 9 is again evident here, as it was in case of Vespers 9 previously in the poem. Stanza 13. And every tongue through water drought was withered at the root. We could not speak no more than if we had been choked with soot. This stanza explains, for utter want to water, the sailors' tongues dried up at the very root. They just could not speak. They felt as if their throats had been choked with soot. There is a use of metaphor in these lines. The comparison is between the dry and dehydrated tongues and the roots of a plant which have withered due to lack of water. Stanza 14. Well a day What evil looks had I from old and young? Instead of the cross, the albatross about my neck was hung. The sailors looked at the mariner accusingly. They could not speak, but their looks really revealed the contempt they felt for him. They removed the cross from round his neck and hung the dead albatross there as a punishment for his evil deed. The poet or mariner here says, instead of 3 crosses, the albatross was hung around his neck because many Christians wear a cross round their necks as a protection against evil forces. The sinful soul of the ancient mariner needed a cross to save itself. The sailors instead hung the dead albatross round his neck as a mark of his sin and guilt. This stanza again shows the changed attitude of sailors towards the death of albatross. First, they condemned it by saying that the albatross was a bird of good omen. It had made the breeze to blow. Later on, they approved of its killing and held it responsible for the fog and the mist. Then once again, they accused the mariner for making their lives miserable by killing the albatross. Thank you, dear students. Hope you all have understood and enjoyed the poem.